libel is through written words, slander is oral. And there's a case in the outline of a high school coach, and there are tons and tons of defamation cases out there in the sport context. And the reason why is that people talk in sports. And so as we talked about earlier in class, say the Jack Clark, comments about Albert Pujols, you have that all the time. Did someone cheat? Did they use inappropriate equipment? Did they do something that gave them an advantage, whether it's drugs, whether it's equipment, whether it's not using eligible players, whether it's someone who should be on academic probation or whatever, and do you play them? And these kind of things, he said, she said, kind of things are inherent to the sport context. When we start taking a look at defamation, there are 4 elements of a defamation claim. False or defamatory statement of fact. If you say, my opinion is Professor Freed is a lousy badminton player, there's nothing about that. That's your opinion. That's perfectly fine. If you said Professor Freed got skunked at the U.S. National Championship and lost 21-0, 21-0, that's a factual statement. If I did not get skunked, and if it was 21-17, 21-19, well, then your statement is obviously wrong. And that's a statement of fact. And that's why I always take a look at a false or defamatory statement of fact. Remember, truth is an absolute defense. It has to be published to a third party. Now the question becomes, who represents a third party? If you're talking to a dog or a cat, they cannot testify, they don't represent a third party. But if you put it out there in the public domain, even telling one person, that is putting in the public domain. Now I have to be able to show there's damages. So if you go home and tell your loved one, this is what happened. And I don't know them, they don't know me, they don't talk to anybody else. Am I harmed by that? No. But if you say it to somebody else, and then they go and they tell it to other people, and then it gets to my sponsor, Li Ning, and all of a sudden, Li Ning hears that I played like junk, and they think that I got skunked and I'm hurting their reputation, they might cancel their contract with me. Which means I'm losing money, I'm losing sponsorship, I'm losing equipment, losing clothing, all those different kinds of things. Now I'm hurt. That's what we always take a look at, is where is the harm. Fault of the publisher, which means it has to be the person that said it has to know that they're wrong and they intend it to be wrong. So it's the fault of the publisher. They were negligent. Maybe they didn't realize who they were talking to, or they didn't realize it was on TV, or whatever it might be. But someone has to actually have said it, and that's the fault of the publisher. And then it has to cause actual damages. It can't be speculative. We talked about damages before in cases. One of the key things we look at is it can't be saying that I might in the future face damages. It's what is your damages right now. And so we're always taking a look at those elements. Now, you might say, well, do I have a First Amendment right? There's no First Amendment right to say something that's not the truth. Never. So, you can say your opinion. That's protected. But if you're trying to say a fact which isn't true, that you can't say, okay, that's First Amendment. I'm protected. Also, there's something called the public figure exception, and there's also an administrative exception. A public figure exception is if you say something about me, and let's say I'm an internationally known superstar. Okay, I'm just saying, let's say. Okay, so I'm not. Let's say I'm Tom Cruise, and you're a tabloid, and you said I gave birth as a man to an alien love baby. Okay? And you put that out there not as an opinion that we think you as Tom Cruise gave birth to one. You have a picture and you say this is actual footage of me giving birth to this alien love child as a male who is Tom Cruise. Okay? What do we have there? You're saying a fact. You're trying to make it in such a way that, I don't know if it'll hurt his image, maybe might improve his image, who knows? But let's say he loses a role in a family film because all of a sudden now they think of him as a weirdo because he's given birth to an alien love child. Okay? Well, what do you do in that kind of context? Well, if it's Gil Fried that they say that about, I can go to the tabloids and say, no, it's not me. That's just my ugly dog. Okay? And I didn't give birth to him. It's not an alien, it's just an ugly, hairless dog. Okay? No one will care about me. Right? Who's going to print that in the paper? No one. But if it's Tom Cruise and he goes to the media and says this is what happened, don't you think they're all going to publish that? Or at least some of them are going to publish it where he can redeem his name? So, if you are a public figure, which means like in the Albert Pujols case, he's a public figure, and have access to the media, it's a different story. You can't just say, okay, I'm harmed. You have to show that there was intent to harm you. So if you could say Jack Clark said that about you in order to harm your reputation, you have to be able to prove that. You can't just say he said something and it just was not correct. So the public figure kind of analysis that we have is quite significant. It was from the New York Times versus Sullivan case that went to the Supreme Court back in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, and it basically said, look, you know what? If you're a public figure, because you have access to the media, and if something is said, you can always back up and say, look, you know what? This is what the truth is, and normally the media will take it and try to correct it. Now, this is leading to a number of different issues right now, because the internet, with how quickly information gets passed, and how quickly a story can grow and then die, is that even enough? So this might be something that the courts will start examining again, because you might not have that real ability to really change what the image is if it's already out there in public. Other things that we take a look at are defenses. There's truth as a defense. If it's true, hey, I can't say anything about it. If Tom Cruise actually had this alien love child, and you can prove it's a fact, tough luck. He can't bring a claim of defamation. Government privilege or administrative managerial privileges, sometimes in order to allow people to freely communicate, we allow it to occur. And one of the biggest areas that this exists is in relation to, as an example, giving references or doing employee evaluations, where you have to make sure that people can communicate, or those people aren't going to say anything, and it can create problems in the future.